Hello! Perfidious Pete here, back with the galaxy's greatest salt miner, Crusty Cornelius, to pick up the pieces of a life shattered not once, but twice in Rimworld. And you may notice the old colony here looks considerable bit different than it did when last we left, in the fact that Crusty is all alone now in a brand new, terrifying, and scary environment. And that's because, well, Rimworld did an update. They had a straight up update to the game, and one of the mods I was running caused the game to be pretty much unplayable. And by pretty much, I mean entirely unplayable. Which is unfortunate, but an opportunity to start over. I've been playing a lot of Rimworld off camera, and I've learned some lessons, valuable lessons, which I think we can probably translate into overall better success on a brand new run. And while I'm a little disappointed because I was enjoying the colony, we had a great dynamic, and I'm definitely going to miss Bernard and the vast number of pyromaniacs we had running around our enclave. It's not the end of the world. I mean, there are more pyromaniacs out there, right, Crusty? Oh, damn right, Pete. The world's full of crazy assholes. Most of them got a shot in the face with a 30-06, but, well, wherever you are, Pete, it's like old Buckaroo Banzai said. Wherever you go, Pete, wherever you go, there you are. So it's time to start over. Let's dig me a new corpse hole. Well, actually, Crusty, the corpse hole strategy is not going to work as much as I would love to. In order to prevent the sort of game-breaking bug from happening again, I actually just uninstalled, disabled that mod I was using. So we did as best we could to make Crusty Cornelius over again. He's neurotic now, careful shooter, because, I mean, Crusty is a crack shot. And, a nudist. That's right, Pete. All that hot horseshoes I was playing, well, I learned me a lesson. Turns out covering up your broken down, battered physique under a thick leather duster and cowboy hat and then standing out in the sun pitching horseshoes, well, two things happened. One of two things, that is. Either I done plumb went completely crazy and lost my shit altogether, had a break with reality, killed everyone, and wandered off in a daze to wake up here alone, or two, I reached an epiphany and have come to the conclusion that a leather duster and cowboy hat, Pete, are not the way a man was meant to roll. A man, Pete, was meant to be nude. Crusty Cornelius came into this world naked as the day he was born. That's how he's going to go out of it, goddammit. All right, Crusty, well, I don't know about that. Actually, nudist is not bad. Constraining clothes gives us a -3 to our attitude all the time. But Crusty is feeling good. New colony optimism. He has low expectations. He's in a little pain. Why are you in pain, Crusty? Because you have a scratch scar on your left pinky? Really? All right, well, I don't want to call you a wuss, Crusty, but shoe fits, I guess. So let's take a look and see where we want to rebuild our shattered colony. I have a proclivity. I've been playing a lot of Rimworld off camera, and I have a proclivity for building in cul-de-sacs, like areas that you can sort of fence off with a wall. But I have learned a couple valuable lessons, and I think ultimately the restart is going to be a good thing. One of the things I have learned, which has proven extremely valuable, digging bases in mountains is a somewhat mixed bag. It does have really strong benefits early, but ultimately you wind up with infestations, and an infestation at the wrong time can be a straight-up colony-ruining event. So while they are good, they do, again, have drawbacks, and I'm thinking maybe we start with something a little more conservative that's not quite so underground, but also still building in an area that's pretty defensible. So let's zoom the map out. I kind of like the look of this area. We could just fence this off. Build ourselves a little hut. I don't hate that. We could, we could relatively easily fence this off as well. I'm just looking for an area. What do we got over here? Why, Pete, looks like a herd of buffalo. We could go over there and get to shooting, boy. It would be relatively easy to... It's also a relatively easy area to contain, but I want one where we really only have to build one wall in order to contain our, all of our necessary facility. Ooh, wait a minute. Like that. It's really far away, though. This is a really large area that we could fence pretty easily. I mean, what would we really have to do? All we really have to do is run a wall across here. And we've got some walls we could have Crusty disassemble, and immediately we'd have sort of like an iron barricade. I kind of like that. What do the resources in here look like? Let's take a peek. So we've got some compacted plasteel. Oh, that's really good. That's a pretty solid find. Do we have any regular steel, though? Like, just access to regular steel? It doesn't look like it. All right, so we've got some compacted plasteel, which is huge, but as far as regular steel goes, we've got some uranium over here as well. Some granite. There's no regular steel. Then again, with compacted plasteel, I mean, are we that worried about it? It's going to be really difficult to mine, that's the thing. It's almost impossible to mine, actually. What do you think, Crusty? Well, Pete, I'm looking at it, but I don't know if my axe. I mean, I'm a talented miner, son, but compacted plasteel, that's some pretty powerful stuff. Man, is there like no steel on this world anywhere? We are in a steelless environment. Really? No steel to be mined anywhere. No, there's some over here. So, like, this is all of the steel that we've got? Really? This one little spot. This is the only steel on the whole... Oh, no, here's some over here, too. I don't want to have to run 1 billion miles to mine steel. That would be bad. So what if we come down here by these boomalopes, then? We could just wall this off. We could deconstruct both of that. We could deconstruct all this and wall ourselves off a little area that we could then pretty easily enclose. I don't hate that. We could do our growing out here. The boomalopes are a bit of a problem. Man, this map, it's not as good as our last map, is it, Crusty? No, it's definitely... No, Pete! Yeah, it's definitely not, Pete. I'm sorry, Pete. I'm a little discouraged here. We got a kind of a rough start, and this Rimworld is one of the most difficult we've seen. Or at least I've seen, and, well, this is my second one now. All right, well, let's get started then. I think we're just going to sort of cordon off this little middle passage, but that leaves us vulnerable to attack from 2 directions. I don't like that. There's got to be somebody better. There's got to be a better place, Crusty. We can do better, buddy. What about over here? This puts us reasonably close to the steel. We'd have a reasonable little growing area. We got our back completely protected. We could wall this off. Not easily, but relatively easily. I think we go for this. Okay, so first things first then. Let's get started and get zoning. We're going to need a stockpile area for just our generalized goods. Let's start that right here. We'll just throw this in, and we can... pardon me? What's going on here? I miss Winnie and I miss Bernard. I miss those guys. I miss them already. I miss them like the ocean needs. All right, let's just delete you then. Miss those guys like the ocean misses the storm. I miss them like the desert misses the rain. Miss them like the sun misses the moon. So we've got our stockpile area. Everything we have is going to start going there. We could get Crusty to start hauling, but we got that's a lot of hauling to do, Crusty. A lot of hauling. All right, let's unforbid everything. And first things first, Crusty, get that 30-06, bro. Gotta get that equipped, man. All right, so there, Crusty, get your gun. Crusty, get your gun. Gonna put some hobos on the run. Crusty got a gun. All right. The obligatory Aerosmith reference has now been taken out of the way. So, Crusty, let's get down here. Do we want to disassemble these walls first, or do we want to immediately start setting up shop? I think first things we got to do is set up shop. So let's assume we're going to be putting walls across here, and then we'll probably run like an entrance wall out to around, say, here, and maybe make a little kill box afterwards. We'll try and set this area aside for our kill box. So what we'll want is our habitable places. We want to put those more over here, which means really we should probably move this stockpile zone. So let's get rid of this for now. We'll move that back. We're going to use this area. This can be like our fields. This is our growing area. And since we have a little spot back here where we can't grow anything, like what out here is not growable. A lot of this is ungrowable. So what we'll do is we'll turn this into stockpile zone instead. We can't grow anything here anyway. Fine, we're not wasting any space by zoning this out as stockpile. Let's trim this down just a teeny bit. I don't want to delete the whole zone. I just want to trim it a little. There we go. So there's our initial stockpile zone. That's where Krusty's going to start hauling stuff. Now, we need to build ourselves some form of rudimentary shelter. The easiest way for us to do that is to just sort of box this in, and we can always mine it out a little bit to trim the corners. Alternatively, we could move into one of these prefabricated structures, but Krusty's an individual man. He doesn't want to live where somebody else has lived. That's right, Pete. I like carving my existence out of the bare rock. I want to carve it out of the bones of this planet. I want it to say when I'm done, Pete, I want it to say to the world, Crusty was here. Crusty changed things. Crusty shot a lot of hobos through the eye socket. That's what I want. That's the message I want to leave for the world, Pete. Well, we can make that happen, Crusty. We can make that happen. So let's just grab some wood. Nothing fancy for our starter unit here. Get this down. We'll just square off a little bit, slap a wooden door on it. We should also get Krusty's priorities set. We're going straight to manual priorities. Firefighting, number 1. Patient, number 1. Doctor, number 1, because Krusty's all we got. Crusty can do everything. He's not really very good at several things. Flicking is fine. Wardening, well, that's all you. Actually, this Crusty is vastly more sociable than the old Crusty. Well, Pete, it's all part of teaching my hot horseshoes classes. I learned a lot about people while I was doing that. I can also maybe train Rick a little bit better. Overall, Crusty is a terrible cook, though, but he's going to be forced to do it, and we have to kind of make it a priority. Hunting, Crusty be a good hunter. Construction, repair, more important. Growing, also pretty important, but not one we're going to prioritize early. Mining, also very important for Crusty. Plant cutting, yeah, we'll go ahead and set that at a 2. Smithing, tailoring, and art, these things are not really important early. Let's go ahead and knock those down. Just to keep confusion out of the loop, Crusty. No potential. Hauling is going to be very important. Cleaning, we'll bump it up to a 2, even though I think ultimately it's really not going to matter that much. And, well, Krusty's a pretty decent researcher. Yeah, that's right, Pete. Got the old Crusty Cornelius Bile and Salt Engineering course that I teach through the University of Phoenix. We're still going to put researching at a fairly low priority. University of Phoenix aside, Crusty, we got more important things like, shelter and survival. So let's get those started first. Go grab some wood. Let's crank up the speed here. Grab some wood and get to work. Colonists need beds. Yes, I'm aware. We might as well go ahead and put that down. Furniture. Get a patented, regular old wooden bed for Crusty so he's got a place to rest his weary hobo-killing head. First things first, we got to get some walls. Oh, Crusty has already failed in construction. Fantastic. Padding out the wall. Go grab some more wood. And it is going to take a little while. We can actually let's just crank the speed all the way up. It's going to take us a little while here to get everything fully sorted. Mostly because we got to haul a bunch of crap down to where we didn't necessarily start. But ultimately, I think the hauling is going to pay dividends in the long run. It's a problem early. Good God, Crusty, could you waste some more materials, buddy? Hey, Pete, don't come on, man. I'm new here. I'm a little discombobulated. Things is a strange new world, Pete. I'm like a stranger in a strange land. I'm like that Michael, what's his name, Valentine Smith, whatever, from that novel that man wrote. The one about the guy from Martian comes and makes soups out of his friends and then eats their bones. Yeah, you know the one I'm talking about, Pete. Are you talking about Stranger in a Strange Land, Crusty? Yeah, that's it, Pete. It's powerful weird. Well, Crusty, you and I will have to agree on that. It's also, I wouldn't say it's poorly written, but it's not ingenious or anything. It's all right. I think it gets a little more credit than it deserves. I'm not trying to poop on Robert Heinlein. I'm just saying it's probably not one of his better works. Might as well zone some growing zones while we're at it here for Crusty. I like my growing zones 6x6. I don't really know why. It just kind of has a visual appeal for me. We're not going to put one there, though, because that can't. I said we're not going to put one there, Crusty. Don't be so contrarian. Crusty just going to sleep on the ground? You have a bed, Crusty. What are you doing? Well, you're stargazing. All right, I thought you were just going to go down and sleep out there in the dirt. That seemed like foolish. So let's delete this growing zone. Delete zones. This one. Since we can't make it the full 6x6. I just like my growing zones to be square. I like them regular. Want them 6x6. And then we're probably not going to fit another 6x6 there. So let's do here. Actually, we could go probably a little further back. Let's do here. 6x6. And we're just going to make a nice little checkerboard field here. It'll be like we're walking through rural Iowa or something. None of this is... Okay, well, a lot of that is not sewable. I like squares. I like square growing zones. What is it about the regular shape that makes find so appealing? I just don't know. 6x6. There's one we can fit in. All right, so we're going to sow... In this one, rice, because rice is probably the fastest growing. Then we're going to do one of potatoes. We're going to do one of corn. And we also do want one for cotton as well. Are we going to have Crusty immediately start sowing this stuff? No, we're going to reset his priorities so that sowing is a little lower down. I don't want Crusty to spend all all of his time in his first seasons here farming. We're going to throw down some... I know what cotton does. I just want to plant it. There we go. We could also plant some hay grass for Rick the Mule, which would not be a terrible idea. You can forbid doors caused to go through, and tame animals won't go through them. That's new. Alerts. Tell you about issues that need your attention. Oh, okay. So there's some new interface objects we're seeing here. This is cool. So here's your difference between the versions. They have upgraded to version 0.15 for Rimworld, which I think technically makes it Alpha 15. Rimworld really is kind of a, I don't say this often, but kind of an example of early access done right. They've been making a lot of good, steady, progressive progress on the game. It's been getting incrementally better. Little upset about the crashed save. They did give us an opportunity, actually, to go and roll back. If you are playing on a version where they've updated and some of the mods make your saves no longer playable, you can roll back your version of the game to the previous version. But if this is going to be a periodic thing with mods installed, it's going to cause saves to crash. I thought for the sake of simplicity, I'd just abandon the whole thing and just start a new one. Crusty Cornelius is a man of many talents. Little setback. This isn't the first time Krusty's had a minor setback. Oh, hell no, Pete. There was a time back before I used to be a mascot for the General Mills cereal. Well, I'd been prospecting out I was probably 1912 out in the Badlands of California. 17 claim jumpers come up on the salt mine. I was like, hey, I'm just a humble salt miner. This stuff sells for cents on the pound, boys. You don't need to jump my claim. There's plenty of salt out here. It's not an uncommon element. It ain't like this is a gold mine or anything. But, well, them boys was powerful set on taking old Krusty's shit, so 18 bullets. Saved one for myself, of course, because that's the way you do when you're a prospector out on a loan. But the other 17 claim jumpers, 17 bullets, 17 eye sockets exploded under the power of my 30-06 rifle, Pete. Gotta say, pretty damn good day. Made me the man I am today, in fact. Let's give Rick a little animal sleeping spot so he can come indoors. Rick sleeps next to Krusty. I think we can all agree that this is appropriate. Well, okay, it's not appropriate for a man to sleep in the same room with a mule. Appropriate isn't maybe the right word. Fitting? Maybe seems more the appropriate word. Krusty, it's fitting that he sleep next to a mule. Is it appropriate for him to sleep next to a mule? Probably not. It's probably wildly inappropriate now that I think about it. What are you getting up to with the mule? Why is a mule your only friend, Krusty? Also, why have you not built a solar generator, say, right here? And then perhaps a battery right here, with a power conduit connecting the two. This is a good thing to start on. We are going to need power. We are going to need batteries, and this will give our battery an opportunity to charge while we're effectively doing nothing else. Krusty's just running around. What are you doing right now, Krusty? You know, you're going for a walk. Could you not? And remember, anytime we need Krusty to get a little mood boost, we can't just, make him naked. We give Krusty a little mood boost just by stripping off the clothes. That's right, Pete. You go out there. Man wandering around out in the wilderness, naked, dong flapping in the noonday sun, breeze blowing at your little swinging, danging testicles there. Oh, it's such a nice feeling. Of course, you always got a 30-06 in your hand because you never know when a hobo's going to come running at you. And I got to tell you, Pete, when I wander around naked, people come running for the Crusty Cornelius. Yeah, I may not be a powerful, handsome man. In fact, the face looks a little bit like that Celebrimbor fellow. What from, we have visitors. Hold on a second. It's not Celebrimbor, is it? No. A group of visitors from Tol Brexos are visiting the colony. They seem to have a few items to trade. All right, well, we'll keep an eye on these guys. I really do want to get my defensive walls set before I really start doing any significant improvements, but we got so much hauling to do first. How come the visitors didn't show up here? This is a learning helper. Oh, can we just close this then? Oh, interesting. So this is, okay, it's like a little help thing. Well, that's nifty. If we have questions about anything, we can go to the learning helper and ask. I like that. There is a fairly steep learning curve for Rimworld, so this is probably something a lot of people have asked for. Do we want to interrupt Krusty's sleep? What's your overall happiness? Your mood, Krusty? I mean, you're at 68%. What are your thresholds? 43% for a minor break, 28% for a major break, extreme break 13%. Interrupting your sleep is not going to cause a huge problem. Let's see what Senya's got for trade. Some pemmican, components. Actually, he has no components. What's he got for trade? He has pemmican, herbal medicine, beer, and a cloth duster. Oh, I really want that superior cloth duster. But Krusty's a nudist, so clothes aren't really a priority for him. Beer? We can't... Nah, you know what? We shouldn't have woken you up. We cannot let Crusty get drunk. That's just a terrible, terrible idea. Disturb sleep. How long does the disturb sleep debuff last? Yeah, you know, it expires in 10 hours, most of which we're going to spend asleep anyway. Also, let's adjust some restrictions here. We're going to take Crusty's sleeping off. There we go. We want Crusty to go to bed at 10 o'clock because it's just a solid bedtime. It's just a good, reasonable time for a person to go to bed, but we don't really care how long Crusty sleeps. We want him to sleep until he's not tired. Go to bed at 10, Crusty, but, you know, there's no... We don't have to... You don't have to stay asleep for a full 8 hours. If you don't need that much sleep, don't sleep that long. It's not rocket science, Crusty. So what have we got? Wood? Honestly, I think we'd be better off than hauling this wood. We'd actually be better off to just leave it and cut new wood. How much wood is up here? 57, 39. Yeah, we can just cut more wood. And we're going to need to cut some trees anyway. So these, I'm actually going to re-forbid those. I do want Crusty to go pick up the steel. We need as much steel as we can get. But the rest of it, as far as wood goes, we're going to be cutting a bunch of trees here when we start sowing these fields anyhow. Probably not a great use of Crusty's time to having him run around hauling. We should have done this long before because we've already wasted a considerable amount of time. We do need to start getting some production facilities up. A butcher's table would be useful. More importantly, though, we're going to need a pantry. Some place to store our food, and ideally we want to store that food near where we're going to be cooking that food, and that's going to be sort of in Crusty's little bunker here. So let's reprioritize first. Okay, we want to put... There's a mad animal. Where is it? It's ridiculously far away. Like, basically the other side of the map. All right, let's just keep an eye on this situation. Oh, it's coming right for us. All right, Crusty, you're going to have to fight here, buddy. The coon is coming right for us, Crusty. Yeah, all right, get ready. This is your first test, Crusty. The first test of the Crusty Cornelius method. We're going to draft you. What are you doing? Let's have you fall back. We can use Rick for cover. So let's go ahead and draft Crusty. We'll get him over here so he's got a little cover. Here comes the raccoon. Let's slow things down so we can watch Crusty's revenge. Get him, Crusty. Miss. Not so good. There. Oh, look at this. Crusty, one shot, one kill. That's right, Pete. Well, a coon's eyes are a little bit harder to hit than a man's, but it turns out they're just as vulnerable to being shot in the eye socket. Nicely done, Crusty. Nicely done. Why are you going over here? You're cleaning dirt over there? Why is that listed as your home area? Okay, we got to adjust this then. If our home area is expanded all the way out to there, we're going to need to definitely... Why is that? No, get rid of all that. We don't need to clean the dirt out there, Crusty. I'm actually not really worried about cleaning the dirt even out here. This is technically our home area, and we do want it defined as such so that if a fire breaks out, we try and stop the fire. But I think we're good. I don't want you going out there cleaning crap. It's just a waste of time. It's all about priorities, Crusty, man. We're early on here. You gotta think towards the. You gotta keep an eye to the future, Crusty. So where would we want to put our pantry? I'm thinking probably we just dig this out, dig a little hole off of here, and dig our pantry back here. So let's get a mining order set. We're gonna try and dig ourselves a pantry, and I think the pantry is actually more important than expanding all of this. So let's cancel that for now. We're gonna do our pantry right here. Let's make our pantry to start 5 by 5. This should be a relatively easy mining task for Crusty. Crusty, buddy, why are you cleaning dirt? Your cleaning priority is set way too high then. Let's put cleaning down to a 3. I want you sowing plants. Actually, growing is vastly more important. Let's up your grow. Get you back to work. We got to get these plants in the ground, Crusty. It's the 9th of spring. We don't have a single crop planted yet. We're going to survive the winter, Crusty. We're going to need these things. We also want to get a butcher's table and a stove out pretty soon. I think, unfortunately, this coon may just have to go to waste. Well, that's a powerful shame, Pete. I hate to waste good quality meat like that. It seems like not a great start for our little community. We're already wasting resources, Pete. Crusty's planting. Man, I'm really missing Winnie and Bernard right about now. Yeah, I tell you who I don't miss, though, Pete. Don't miss that jerk-ass Toon. Guy was kind of a dick. Like to start fires. Gotta say, not really gonna miss Toon that much. Of course, my sister Winnie, well, she was a disagreeable cuss and one ornery dame, but despite being blind in both eyes, a pretty remarkable killer. A little Helen Keller vibe coming off of her. She's a powerful woman. Don't let the blindness fool you. All right, Crusty, can we just, like, speed this up here? How's Crusty's growing stat? What's your growing like, Crusty? Let's take a look at Crusty's overall skills here. Crusty is bad at growing. Like, ridiculously bad at growing. He has no passion for learning, which means he's going to remain very, very slow at this. He likes to mine. He likes to research. Crusty is bizarrely social. His melee is fantastic, and he's a pretty damn good shot. I really feel like this is points poorly spent. We're not going to be having Crusty melee. His animal handling and medicine, all of this, all of the things Crusty needs to kind of be good at, didn't really turn out to be that good at. We could really use maybe, like, the first person to join our colony, if we could, our first person to show up, if they could, you know, hurry up and arrive. Come hither soonest, is what I'm going to say. We need, we could really use a little help here. And ideally, maybe, but I don't want to tempt the gods' fate and whatnot, but perhaps we could get someone a little better than Toon. Also, one thing we're going to do here, too. I do not want Rick eating any of my packaged meals. Rick can fend for himself. We have plants out here. So we're going to define an animal area for Rick and then restrict him to it. So let's go to zone area. Expand allowed area, animal area 1. Where do we want Rick to be allowed? Well, for starters, not in our crops, because otherwise he will eat them. So let's do we give Rick the run of the house? Yeah, we'll give Rick the run of the house. Not the pantry, but other than that, Rick has the run of the house. Then we'll expand this down just to the edge of our stockpile. And then we're going to try and, of course, we're going to keep Rick out of the crops. We don't want Rick in the potatoes or the rice or the corn, because history has shown us that Rick doesn't give a shit about anybody other than Rick, and he will eat those items. We do need to give him an opportunity to graze, though, so let's just give Rick, like, an animal area that goes all the way down here. Do this. Right by the edge of the field. That'll keep Rick out of problems. And then what we do, we're just going to go to Rick, and we will restrict him to animal area 1. There you go, Rick. You've now got some pasture land. Enjoy it. Also, the other thing that Rick's grazing will do... Well, there we go. We got Flores. I don't like the looks of this feller, Pete. His Flores. Last guy I knew with the name Flores. Well, he stabbed me in the kidney and tried to run off with 50 sacks of salt that I had spent an entire week mining. This, however, is going to be Krusty's... we can't call it Krusty's corpse hole, because the last place was Krusty's corpse hole. I really feel bad about the saga of Crusty Cornelius. It's, you know, it's a broken kind of thing. We got, like, a little disjointed narrator action working here. This has got to be Crusty something. Krusty's New Hope, maybe? No, it just doesn't fit. It's got to be disagreeable. I mean, this is still Crusty Cornelius. Let's just call it... I think the last place we called Crusty Salt Mine. You know what? Let's call it Crusty Shaft. Because, you know, it's got a double entendre that we like. And let's see what Flores is all about. Maybe Flores is also a nudist. What are you wielding, Flores? You have a wooden mace. Well, that sucks. Your weapon is straight up garbo. You have a wooden mace and a fine meal. Are you also a nudist? No, you're psychically hypersensitive and lazy. You can do everything. You're a coma child and a low-rage worker. Okay, well, you can shoot a little. Your melee is not tragically awful. You're very social, decent with animals. You're an excellent cook, which, you know what? Hey, that's fantastic. He's a great cook and a great grower. These are two things Crusty is terrible at. That's actually pretty good for us. His construction is abysmal. Reasonable crafter, can research. Let's get your work priority set up. First off, of course, you're going to fight fires. If you're hurt, be a patient. If somebody's wounded, tend to them. If you're hurt, go to bed. Everybody can flick switches because we don't give a shit about switches. You are fantastically more skilled. Well, actually, not really. Both Crusty and Flores are social gadflies. These guys are going to get along fine. We're going to up your wardening, though. Handling, let's just... You know, handling is not really a priority at all, so I'm going to leave that at 3. Who's the better cook? You are a vastly better cook, so we're taking that off Krusty's plate. You're a vastly better cook. Hunting. Crusty is still a considerably better shot than you are, although you have a passion for it. So does Crusty. We'll make this a 3 for you. Hunter lacks a ranged weapon. Yeah, we know, that's fine. Alert thing. Constructing. Everybody's a 2 for construction and repair. I don't really care. When something needs to be built, we got to get whoever we can get to building it as quickly as possible. There's only one miner in Krusty's. There's only one miner here at Crusty Town, and that's Crusty. Cover and shooting. Yes, thank you for the tip. we'll put you at a 4 so that you're, you know what? Let's just put you at a 3 so that you're capable of it. And we're going to up Crusty to a 2. That puts it above plant cutting. Do we want that? No. Well, yes, actually for now, because plant cutting should be a relatively low priority. We'll put your plant cutting up higher, Flores. You're going to be our gardener. No, I'm not trying to stereotype. Oh, what? Flores is a vaguely Latin sounding name, so he has to be engaged in. No, it's not that. He's got a talent for it. I'm trying to play to his aptitudes here. I'm not trying to make a blanket generalization statement. I was curious if he was a green thumb, but nope, lazy and psychically hypersensitive. Okay. Art? How's your art skill? You're really good at smithing and whatnot, right? Yeah, you're actually a pretty good crafter. So let's put, these are all going to be 4s for Crusty. Your hauling, we'll make your cleaning a 2 as well. Research is, I mean, we'll put it on the menu so that you will do it, but it's not a priority for you. Art is not going to be a priority for anybody this early in a colony. You get to art later when you have idle leisure time. Smithing, tailoring, and crafting, though, we'll leave those all at 3. And I think we've got Flores pretty well set. We're probably also going to get raided here shortly. A bear is murdering a pig. Hey, Flores, watch out for that bear. There you go. Just, like, stay away from him for now. Also, this gives us an opportunity to have Crusty engage in a little mining, which is kind of a priority for us. So, Crusty, you're a mining of a 2. Let's drop your growing down to a 3 for the moment, and your plant, plant cutting is stated 2. We're going to switch your priorities. I really want you to dig our pantry. Flores has got the whole planting thing covered. You get to the pantry work. And now that Crusty started on the pantry, I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up. We got new colonist, Flores. Things are starting to look up. Crusty's, he's making a comeback here. Things are starting to look pretty good. He's got his first friend. Well, Pete, my first inclination was to shoot him through both of his eye sockets, but then I realized, could use an extra hand around here, somebody to cook the victuals, maybe do some work out in the fields. Let me get back to what I truly love, Pete, which is mining the salt. We should also probably build Flores a bed. Well, I don't like sharing my room, Pete. I'm a loner. I'm kind of like a lone wolf. I'm Lobo. Rides at night, solo kind of guy. But yeah, it does seem mean to make him sleep out there on the ground under a tree. That's kind of a dick move. I do appreciate the nudity, though, Flores. Actually, Flores will be unhappy because he's naked, right? Yeah, Flores doesn't like being naked. You know what, Crusty, though? He doesn't mind. Crusty is going to engage, before we wrap things up, in a true humanitarian act here, Crusty. You know what? Take him off. Strip it, Crusty. No, get him off of there. Get that gear. Get it off, Crusty. There you go. Crusty's back in bed. Crusty is going to give Flores the shirt off his back. I mean, the literal shirt off his back. Oh, wow, that's actually pretty cool, even though we know our mule's name is actually Rick. Ghostface is pretty badass. It's got a real Jon Snow kind of feel to it. It's also where I'm going to wrap things up. If you enjoyed the episode, feel free to drop a like down in the comment section. Of course, your support does really mean a lot, especially as we reboot the saga or ballad of Crusty Cornelius, this time for good, though. If you want to catch more of it, you might consider subscribing as well. Post new episodes of Rimworld every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Right now, thanks very much for watching. Crusty and I will be back, and this will be the greatest colony. We're making Rimworld great again. That's what we're doing. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.